There's so much this budget fitness watch can do, and yet I think for many runners, it's just going to fall short. In this watch review, I'll give you my honest opinion of the Polar Ignite 2 as a running watch, giving you overall specs, what I like about it, and where unfortunately it just misses the mark. All right, guys, so let's get into what you can expect out of the box. Unlike many of the other watches that I've used and reviewed, this one is a lot less sporty and a lot more stylish. So you can see I have this very pretty blue color. It has these bezeled edges on the front. There are other options that look just as nice. You can also change the band. And so I would say if you are looking for something that you can wear out, that you can wear to work and still wear for your runs, this would be something that you might want to look into. In that regard, I give it a huge thumbs up. So in looking at the display size, it's very similar to other watches in this price point, which is around $200, $220, depending on where you're buying or what kind of deal you can get right now. But the display is 1.2 inches across, and the weight of the watch comes in at 35 grams, which is similar to the very lightweight Coros Pace 2 with the silicone band, which I did another review of that watch. If you want to check that one out, I will link it up here. But again, super light on your wrist. I think that's something that you're going to enjoy very much, and you're not going to notice it when you're out on your runs or when you're sleeping, since you're going to want to be using this watch probably for your sleep tracking as well. The functionality of the watch is touch screen for the most part. So there is one button on the side here, but most of the functionality that you're going to be utilizing is coming from the touch screen. So on that touch screen, it's a very colorful display, very, very easy to read. The resolution could be a little bit better. You're going to see some pixelation there, but I will say at this price point, you probably can't expect too much more from that, and it's something that really doesn't bother me. All right, in talking about the battery life, guys, it gives you up to 20 hours in GPS mode, 5 days activity when you have the continuous heart rate monitor on, which you can choose to turn off to extend that battery life, and other settings that you can choose will extend the battery life even more as well. Something to keep in mind is there's not an always on display out of the box. You can choose to have always on display during your workouts. Otherwise, it's going to sit and be black, except for when you look at it. It should turn on when you turn it, which we will talk a little bit more in the downsides later in this video. All right, so now that we have the specs, let's get into what I like about this watch and some other great things about it that you will probably like as well. So beyond the streamlined look of this watch that I really love, there's a lot of great capability within the watch and within the app as well. So this truly is a fitness watch. You're going to get a lot more functionality from the fitness features than you would get from something like an Apple Watch. So I think you're gonna really like that there. It gives you a lot of opportunity to adjust your training based on the metrics that it's giving you, and it will customize some of the training for you as well if you choose to use it. If you're not just into running, there are plenty of sport profiles to choose from, more than I could count. However, you can choose up to 20 to actually transfer to the watch. I don't think most people will probably need to have more than 20. Swimming is included in that. It is waterproof, so if you are someone who likes to swim, I think you'll really like this part as well. The app is very clear. I love the data that it gives. It's all easy to read. I haven't had any problems with the connection from the watch to the app, and just all around, there's nothing bad I can say about that. You get notifications on the watch as you are in your workout or really anytime. So if text messages, things like that, it's very easy to read your text messages. They're very clear on the screen for you there. It connects to fitness apps that you might want to use. For example, Strava. I know a lot of runners use that. I do. As soon as I'm done with my run, very quickly it's going to Strava and it pops up there, and I don't have to worry about it at all. The nightly recharge and sleep tracking metrics it gives are really, really great. I have to say, compared to the other watches that I've been using, the sleep functionality on this one is top notch. So last night, my husband was even up for a couple of minutes. He got some water and that woke me up, and it recognized that. And there was a part in there where it showed that I wasn't sleeping, and that was at that time of night. Where I've noticed with other watches, if I'm still laying down, it doesn't recognize those little nuances in the raising of your heart rate, and it still thinks I'm sleeping, even if I'm like laying there for an entire hour. So I will say the functionality there of the sleep tracking is really great. Something else that I really appreciate on this watch are the music controls. So I talked about in the Garmin Forerunner 55, another watch that I've reviewed and love, which I'll link up here if you want to check that out. But that one also has music controls, and I was excited to find that this one did as well. Now, it doesn't store the music, but what's nice is as long as you have your phone with you, you can just turn your watch and flip through the music without having to actually take your phone out. So that is a big bonus. Something else that's really cool about this watch that I haven't seen on other watches is this fitness test that you do by lying down. So basically it's going to give you your VO2 max by taking in your resting heart rate to account, and I found it to be very accurate. So it gave me a measurement of 48, and just from looking online and trying to determine, what race times equate to that, they were very, very close to what I have done recently or what I do think that I would be able to do. So I'm sure it's not perfect, but for anyone who is trying to track their fitness progress and just their aerobic capacity, I think it could be really, really motivating to see over time how much that is improving for you. All right, guys, we have to get into these deal breakers now and why I could not in good faith probably recommend this watch to my best running friends. That doesn't mean it's not for anyone, but I just want to be super honest about these things that I have found as a runner to be really, really irritating. Now, I have to give this a caveat of that I am not someone who would normally choose a touchscreen watch. So I am trying to come at this with, if I were someone to use a touchscreen watch, I've used an Apple Watch, and this does not come up to that level whatsoever in its functionality in that regard. I do know there are people out there who really do like a touchscreen, although I will tell you it's just really tough as a runner because it's usually harder to manipulate during your run, and it's especially hard when you start wearing gloves and things like that, even with special touchscreen gloves. It's not the same as having a watch that uses buttons. All right, so touchscreen aside, this touchscreen is super annoying, you guys. I have to usually touch it 3 times or swipe several times to actually get it to do what I want it to do. And during a run, there is nothing more frustrating when you want to look down and get those metrics that you need during your run, your pace or your heart rate or whatever you want, and you can't get it to come up. So ultimately you end up pushing the button and finally get it, and there you are, and by then you're already irritated and moving on to thinking about something else. So if I'm going to be using a touchscreen, I want it to work when I touch it, and as soon as your fingers start getting even a little bit sweaty, it makes it even worse. Beyond that is that this watch is, when it's not on always on display, it should be black when it's not turned towards you, and when you turn it towards you, it should come up with the display, and you want it to come up with the snap of your fingers, and several times it doesn't. And I will make myself be super deliberate to turn it so it will turn on, and that is the last thing that I want to be doing during a run. I just want to quickly look, and sometimes it won't work, and I'm flipping again, and I'm flipping again, and again, just like the fact of touching it and it not working, this is just very irritating. And sometimes it does work and it's on a delay. And these are just deal breakers for me. As a runner, I want to be able to access the data that I'm looking for immediately, and this doesn't do that. Now, having said that, you can choose to have an always on display when you're in the middle of a workout. But keep in mind, this is going to drain your battery like crazy. So if you are someone who is an endurance athlete, you're running half marathons, you're going out for those 18-mile, 21-mile training runs or more, then it's very likely that this isn't going to make it through, especially if you didn't make sure that you fully charge it overnight. And if you're wanting to use it for sleep tracking, then you really can't have the best of both worlds. But I will say, if you do end up with this watch and you're someone who maybe goes out for just shorter runs during the week, then put it on that always on mode. So you don't have to worry about, flicking your wrist and it not coming on, and then you can always see the metrics that you want to see. So overall, guys, I wish I could tell you that this is the watch for you, but unfortunately, it's just not there for me yet. I would prefer to wear the Coros Pace 2 or the Garmin Forerunner 55, which I compare in another video. So keep on looking around, guys, if this doesn't sound like it's going to be the one for you. However, I will say, yes, it could work for some of you. If the aesthetics of the watch are really important to you, if that sleep tracking is really important to you, and you know the touch screen is not going to be bothersome to you when you're out on a run, and maybe you're just going out for those shorter runs during the week and you don't mind having on that always on display and you're not worried about that battery life, then absolutely keep looking into this watch. But I'm gonna tell you, It just doesn't have the sensitivity that it needs to turn on and operate as you want it to. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with me in this video. If you have any more questions or comments of other touchscreen watches that you think may be better for people, please place them in the comments below. I would appreciate it very much, and I will catch you guys in the next video.